How are you doing? Georgia Truck Driver Nation. What we're going to go over is a day in the life of a freight dispatcher and what do we do? So a lot of people think all we do is book a load, and that is a broken record from me. But that being said, I'm gonna go over this with you real quick so you guys get a good idea. So professional dispatcher really ain't just about managing just truck movement. You got communication, profitability, operations throughout the entire day. And most freight dispatchers, just so you get an idea what we have, most of us just got laptop, like a phone, whichever load board you need, um, whatever dispatch software you're needing, and communication systems. But what that actually gives us the advantage to do that a lot of people in other careers can't do, we get to work from home. You can work from office if you want to. Um, Even for people that like are expats or digital nomads, I deal with them because I've trained a lot of them. They leave the United States and don't realize, you should have had more in your hand, and then a retirement check or whatever. So obviously, I end up teaching a lot of those people how to actually do what we do. But that being said, a typical dispatcher workflow upflow is basically in the morning. It usually just starts basically with checking to see which trucks are empty, what trucks are going to need to be loaded, where are they at. You need to look at their ELDs and see how many hours of service, that's electronic logging device, see how many hours of service that they uh how many hours of service that they have, not just on that day, but for the overall week based on their whole cycle. Do they need to do a restart or anything like that? And then start looking at the market. Just start looking at what's going on, where that truck's at, what kind of lanes are available for that particular type of trailer, and what kind of reload opportunities there are available within the radius that you don't obviously want to deadhead to, but you're trying to find something, basically out of that area. Now, a lot of dispatchers, they use DAT, truck stop, 123 low board, or direct broker system. So we're talking about TQL, CH Robinson, Coyote, XPO, et cetera. There's a bunch of them. I mean, there's a lot, really is a lot of them. The goal is obviously to find that freight that fits that particular trailer. People say, well, that truck, but the trailer is what matters. Even when I drove a truck, like we say, I don't drive the truck. I literally drive the trailer and obviously find the lane that fits for them and develop that relationship with the brokers that can obviously keep that truck filled based on if he's going to have a dedicated route or something like that. But you got to make sure that the load makes financial sense. That is probably the most biggest screw up. Why would you take a load if it don't pay what it needs to pay? But anyways, we're talking about what we actually do. Not, I'm not sure I'm going to sit here and obviously teach it at this point, but this is what we do. So we got to find the loads that make financial sense that actually will keep that truck moving and keep that truck profitable. Because without the profit, it won't be too far down the road, then that truck be out of business. Now that's just how we kind of get up and going in the morning, and like I tell people, most time I'm up by 5 because by 6 o'clock you need to be on the load board and the race is off because everybody's looking for freight, including yourself. But by midday, negotiating rates, dispatchers communicate with brokers, verify the load details, and I'm just going to give you what they do. They verify the load details. We negotiate the rates and we confirm the pickup and delivery times, whether it's first come, first serve. We evaluate the lane's profitability, like I said initially, but the whole time you're doing this, you always need to keep reevaluating that. It ain't nothing like doing something screwing up and causing somebody money, which is going to reflect bad on you as their freight dispatcher. So you need to always, at all times, protect that truck's profit revenue, which obviously maintains that profitability. Now, most of us as freight dispatchers, and we've been out a long time, whether we consider ourselves professional or not, we do know how to read the market conditions. Look at the freight based on the season, the time of the year. It's kind of like it builds on itself as you move through it. Um, let's say, for example, drive in. We all know Christmas season is going to be a high volume time because everybody's pushing presents and everything. But that being said, it's not just that one section of knowing where my truck's at and what I'm possibly going to be having on my truck, but also understand that if I get too far out of pocket, that deadhead is going to eat me up. But the biggest cost that you're always going to keep on is that fuel price. I mean, yeah, it goes 1 week before, and then you should know what you got going on for that week. But remember, some of them get lagged behind, but there's some areas that are just higher than others. So you got to make sure that you're considering those fuel costs. And that's going to also help you between that, deadhead, and all that. It's going to help you understand that reload strategy as far as where you need to be at. And, but also knowing with the reload strategy, I know this sounds complex, but it's not. But you got to also understand, we call it, is it a spot board day or is it basically my day? If it's a spot board day, then it means kind of like the power is in the hands of the brokers. They've got the rate down because there ain't no real transparency in between the broker's rate and then what we can negotiate. Hopefully that's going to change, and there's pros and cons. Everybody's all over the place with the scenarios based on that. But the overall point is I've got to make sure that I could negotiate that freight. And I don't care if it is a broker's day, if I can't make a profit on the truck, not just meet the minimum, I'm not going to take it. It ain't no probably not going to take it. I'm not going to take it. If the owner operator wants me to do something different than that, I'll discuss it with him after I've tried, 4 or 5 loads and I'm seeing it's not panning out. We need to start looking at an alternative decision whether we're going to deadhead or not. So driver communication. Exactly what comes next, just like we were just talking about me communicating. Throughout the day, dispatchers stay and communicate with those drivers because they need to, obviously, you got to get them the pickup instructions, the delivery updates. You got to get them from them because you're the cross information between the broker and the driver. So I got to get my delivery updates, any type of route adjustments. Did something happen? Was it weather, construction, whatever it is? And I've got to calculate. They need to communicate with me if they've had any delays or they had any breakdowns, so I can make sure that we still have time to get that load there, because we don't want to have a failure of service. But also, you always got to make sure, call where you're picking up, call where you're delivering. Always make sure the appointments are going to be steady and the driver's going to make it, or do we need to start looking at maybe adjusting appointment times? But safety and operational concerns are everybody's concerns. So whatever it is, make sure whatever you're doing as a freight dispatcher, you're supporting that truck and the staying safe out there. Because that good communication, that's just one of the most important things there is in dispatching. People neglect it and abuse it, and it costs them dearly and also costs them reputation. So if you don't want to jibber jabber and talk, I'm not saying you got to sit here and go on, but you got to maintain that two-way layer of communication, because a lot of problems can be just solved just out of communicating. If you don't communicate and wait till it becomes a big issue, now you do have a problem that probably didn't exist, and it could have been killed out if you just communicated. But as you actually look through these operational issues throughout the day, dispatchers, you're going to actually do a lot more things. Like, I'm not saying a lot more things. It's just throughout the day. You're going to deal with carrier packets. You're going to be dealing with broker setup paper, dealing with the rate confirmations. That's where you sign them off. You've accepted that route. Also, route planning if that owner operator needs that. Now, tracking and tracing, you're always going to keep an eye on that load. That's part of the whatever, the kind of the mandate, because you're dealing with that broker and you're representative of that given owner operator. Then I need to make sure everything's going good with that freight moving there, and updating the systems and notes to the people that we're working with, like the brokers, because that builds a lot of trust and it speaks a lot about you as a freight dispatcher, that you're maintaining that level of continued continuity and communication. That basically the chain of custody for the freight. So managing schedules, you always got to make sure that not just making sure that they're there and that the pickup, delivery, or drops or whatever's there, but that the broker, even though they gave it to you, still make sure you make those phone calls to make sure they're on the same page as what that broker had indicated to you. And that's the whole, after when you take it all, put it in a big nutshell, that whole deal is basically monitoring the truck's progress through every single step. So organization and multitasking become extremely important. If you're not good at it, you're going to have to incorporate it, or you're going to have an uphill stream to fight against pretty tough current. But by the end of the day, professional dispatchers are always thinking ahead toward tomorrow. They're planning pre-booking loads before even they get delivery, setting up next day freight. They're checking the market movement, see what's changed, what areas if you already got the freight, you're going to the area. You just need to go and check the market to make sure that it's still going to be suitable, or start thinking, are we going to have to deadhead? Deadhead is not, deadhead, you need to keep deadhead low. I think it's right now the way that I basically view it is when you're dealing with deadhead that, give me 1 second here. I'm actually going to make sure I got the right thing for you because I don't want to mislead you. I hate giving out bullshit information because I don't like receiving it. Um, Give me 1 second. Uh, Give me 1 second. Excuse me. Okay. It's always something. Now this ain't want to cooperate right. We use a lot of different formats in here, but I just don't want to give you bad information. I think it's like 10%. I'd like to keep mine down below 5%. I just don't want to give you bad information. Um, Okay, so you do need to keep it down between that 10 and 15%. I mean, I know this and all that good stuff, but if you're doing, 50 to 100 miles max for local regional, or keep it under 150 for long haul. So, and anything outside that 150 miles, as because I mainly do over the road, then I need to communicate with my driver. I just like that communication. Don't kill that communication. Keep it going even though you don't want to actually, bring it to their attention, it's better off just to go ahead and do it. But usually, the way I look at it, if you can keep it under 50 miles, that's excellent. Acceptable is on average, 50 to 100. And then you got to start throwing up cautions and red flags to yourself and everything that anything between that 100, 150 miles of deadhead is starting to become a problem. Because if you start reaching a 200, something got screwed up, and they're going to look at you at the dispatcher. So make sure you remember these. And it's just the way I do it is just 50 miles increments. So 50, then 50 to 100, and 100 to 150, and then obviously anything over 200. Make that simple. I don't want you to get confused. But 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 also remember you got trucks that are down even during that week. What do I need to do? Do I need to get the driver a 34-hour restart? Anything in that relation to that, because you need to constantly be preparing the trucks for the following week, because the week goes by so quick. And unless you got that truck loaded where they're moving through the week, try to get the 34-hour restart so they're starting out the Monday with a fresh clock of 70 hours, so they don't obviously have problems during the week. But remember, they can't move that truck. So keep on their ELD in that aspect, and make sure they stay aware. We're trying to get you a restart so you can be effective for next week. But keeping drivers productive instead of sitting is your absolute gold. I'm gonna tell you straight, me sitting, I'll get real irate really fast because I'm sacrificing my life out there trying to make a living. And if you're not doing your job as my freight dispatcher, we're gonna have words. Because dispatch is not just about one load. Everybody, whoop-de-doo. Okay, you got to get me a series of loads, building consistent and a profitable days for me every day. Because I have to make $1,450 a day on my truck. That's a minimum. That's like minimum. That means the bottom end. But anyways, the lifestyle, basically, the lifestyle kind of the side of a dispatcher that most people are, and they're interested in being a dispatcher, is the flexibility. Because you can work remotely and you can be independently, means you're working for your own self. It's your own company. You can obviously work from, now when I'm saying remotely, I mean, basically you can remotely kind of covers two things, I guess. It covers you working from home, you're not in nobody's office, or you're a nomad or an expat and you can go anywhere in the world you want. Or as part of a larger logistics company, you can team up with people and they're all working from home or working from other countries. Either which way do you want to view that? So don't think it's just one set profile and the way that we work we all work together, because I end up teaming up with a lot of different people. But it does require that you've got to be responsible and you've got to communicate. And if you're not organized and you're not good at problem solving and just being professional under pressure and not starting to fight with folks, it's going to reflect badly on you. Okay. So the reality of being a dispatcher is all about that communication bridge between basically the driver, the broker, or direct shipper. Okay. Don't get you, which we'll call customer. So driver, the broker, the customers, and then the carriers, which is your owner operator, because we got company drivers and then operations, because it depends on which companies you're working with. And I know that's very vain based on those 5 points, because every one of them's kind of a different scenario. Best if it was a company driver, somebody that already has their MC, or it's a broker, or it's a direct shipper, and are in conjunction with operations inside of a bigger carrier where you're actually dispatching, because we do actually place people with carriers as they might be on salary like 3% or whatever it is, that type of deal. But anyways, when done correctly, dispatching becomes a real business skill that can create long-term opportunities inside the trucking industry. 30 plus years, y'all. I've been in this that long, and it has supported and treated me very good. I'm gonna put this in there. This ain't really on how a dispatcher does, but I'm gonna put it in there. If you've never been able to pay a car cash, brand new car cash, or go buy land cash, it's not always the best principle, but when I don't want to owe nobody, I just pay it cash. I know everybody says, "Oh, well, you should stretch it out and do it loans." I like to be able to go and dump the amount of money that I need on a significant piece of property, and that baby belongs to me. Outside of doing all the paperwork, that belongs to me immediately. I don't owe nobody no bills. It's my property. Yes, you always got to pay taxes, but welcome to the United States. But anyways, just make sure that when people get that mindset that dispatching is just about booking loads, man, it's strategy, 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 communication, communication, watching that profitability and building the opportunities as they come through your door. So please keep that in mind. But anyways, I'm not going to hold you guys up anymore. I hope that gave you some kind of insight. That's my take on it. And in fact, that is the actual take. There ain't nothing else I can really think of to add to that outside of scaling. There's so many opportunities where you can outsource and those type of things. But if you want to know more about these factors and you want to become a freight dispatcher, or you're tired of driving trucks and you want to get off the truck, or you need to do it something part-time to make extra money, you ain't got to do it full-time. We literally have a way. We'll show you how to do it part-time. Then please get a hold of us, Truck Driver Nation. We've got a lot of opportunities for you guys and conversations. I deal with people even from other countries that give me a call. Some of them I can use, some of them, and I'll actually tell you when you can trust somebody and when you can't. It's not that you don't want to trust them, but there's certain factors in there that they can take advantage of. But anyways, I'm gonna let you go. I'll keep it at that. But anyways, I sure appreciate your time. I hope this helps you out and gets you a better understanding on what we do as far as just the day-to-day routine, just being a dispatcher. But anyways, everybody be blessed. If this is a YouTube thing, I don't know where I'm putting this, but if you liked it, please like or subscribe. But get on YouTube, truckdrivernation.com, truckdrivernation.com, and go down on the homepage. There's literally a QR code. You can get a hold of me on Telegram. And if you got questions, you can talk to me directly. But anyways, thank you so much. Everybody be blessed and have a great day.